Well met, lords and ladies, Jacob Butter speaking, and a warm welcome to this week's Walking Wednesday. And despite what you might think, considering the fog that is all around me, and the fact that it is slowly getting less and less sunny, it is in fact still warm. In fact, so warm that I probably want to take off this jacket, actually. Just enjoy the particular nice evening breeze of the beach. That's right, I am back. I am currently in Carnota, which is a place that I haven't actually filmed in since around episode 9 of Walking Wednesday, maybe 10. I think 7, 8 and 9 were the ones that I was here for, actually, back in 2019, because of course Spain closed down its borders, so we couldn't really get in beforehand. We tried both years, actually. Well, I see, we didn't try 2020, actually, never mind. We tried last year, but the flight got cancelled. There was actually a risk that our flight would get cancelled this time too, although, yeah, no, not the case, because EasyJet was very flimsy about this stuff, because apparently they were going to plan to cancel several different flights. There was going to be a waiting time of 3 hours to check in bags. We didn't check in a bag. We had a handheld and a carry-on, and you know, it was a thing. It was a thing that happened, but honestly, it wasn't too bad. And we're here now. So obviously it all worked out. Sorry, I'm trying to hold the phone and take off my jacket at the same time. It's a risky operation, but I think I'm doing it. Yeah. Okay, there we go. There you go, it's tied around my waist. Sort of. Kind of. Not really. Oh, and the waves are coming for me now. That's why I'm just slowly easing down this particular beach. I don't know if I said this last time, you know, in my single-digit Walking Wednesdays, but actually this particular beach is actually the second longest in Europe. So yeah, it goes on. You can't really see because, yeah, very difficult, but it loops around, goes all the way around over there, and just keeps going. And then of course the direction that I'm heading in, which is towards the rocks in that direction. So yeah, that's what's been happening with me. I have been living life for the most part. That's why I'm slightly less responsive, or I have given times that I've been up that have been later than usual, because we're an hour ahead here. So anyone who's calling me with a 5-hour time difference, it's now 6 hours. So yeah. Although I think there's some sort of history to the fact that it shouldn't be 6 hours, but it is because of some particular reason, because we're on the same part of the Greenwich Meridian, so it wouldn't really... Doesn't matter. Point is, it's actually now sort of around, I think, 8:30 or so, and yet it's still this sunny out. That just shows you Spain is actually quite a nice middle ground between the stereotypically dreary British weather, which isn't as bad as people think it is, usually, sometimes it is, honestly, and also, I guess, what one would consider there a huge, like, you know, typical tropical vacational resort or something like that. And yes, there have been times that I have boiled to death, but mostly it was up in those mountains before the fog covered them. Because yeah, we've been hiking a couple of times, forgot to take water, got dehydrated. It was a whole thing. So yeah. And then we went up again yesterday. but not the entire way, because I insisted not to. Because we said it was a short walk, and that's what it was. But honestly, the most standout event so far actually might have been today. There's this nearby town that we go to that has the cinema that's around, which is, I was surprised that it's still open, quite honestly, because get this, they have a fraction of the the big expensive movie tickets that that you had before. That people say, oh, you're so much about the movies, and they're right usually, except for this one particular cinema actually. And not only that, but they have a promotion to get like €1 off on Wednesdays, so that's when we went. But despite that, there were only 4 other people in the entire theater room that we were in, which is actually more than usual. That's the same place I went to see Spider-Man Far From Home, and that was deserted, pretty much. Not only that, but they also have only 4 theater rooms, so they can show 4 films at a time. And still, no one shows up. But somehow, despite everything that's happened in the past couple of years, almost 3 years, they're still open. I'm super impressed. But yeah, the movie we went to see this time was not the Marvel one, although Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness is actually on. We decided against that in the end, because we looked up our options, and we had Doctor Strange, Top Gun Maverick, Marmaduke, or the one we actually went to see ourselves, and which is actually a Spanish original film. There's kind of your typical 80s kids on bikes situation. Like you've got your It movie, your Stranger Things. I guess arguably we can go back to the actual stuff that made in the 80s, like Stand By Me and things like that. Was that made in the... It was filmed in the 80s, I think. I'm not sure. I think so. I can't really tell. Anyways, point is, it was kind of like that. It was a group of 5 friends that meet up, actually, fittily enough, in a small town in Galicia on the night of San Juan, the shortest night of the year, and they go and search for this flower that's supposed to have curative properties. It's not a fantasy film. It's just town legend and stuff. And yeah, it's like all 5 of them have something that's really that's been going on with them, that sort of either intertwines them or has like an individual bit of emotional baggage that they need to actually overcome, or sometimes physical as well. Because because in between them they have was it David or Rodriguez he's called, who's I just realised I'm doing it again. Sorry, I'm sorry to cut myself short there. I'm breaking down the entire thing. Although, to be honest, I don't know if there's an English version out there of this particular film. So I'm not sure. But yeah, Rodri is... he looks like the protagonist for a bit, actually. But then it's sort of... When the 5 of them unites, it becomes the 5 of them. They're all the leads in their own way, honestly. But yeah, we follow him to the town itself. We see him immediately go off to meet up with his friends, and leave behind the family that doesn't really listen to him, apart from his grandmother, who actually lives in the town. It's like your parents don't believe you when you're getting bullied or something, or you're beaten up. He comes back with dirty clothes, and they think, oh yeah, he just must have fallen or something. You're making up the fact that these teens are picking on you on motorbikes. To be fair, it does sound pretty ludicrous. Who knows? Although this was set in the 80s, so what on earth do I know? Then you actually have this other kid called Garriga. I think that might be his last name. And his deal is that he seems to on the outside, everyone thinks that he gets everything that he wants pretty much, but that's not really the case. He's just seems to be the one who has all the collectibles and the fireworks and the stuff that a typical 80s boy would want. And so for a while it seems like he thinks he's being taken advantage of by his friends in that way. Which honestly, I can actually see. I get where they're coming from there, because to be fair, that anyone who brought any sort of toy into school when I was in Spain, it was always about, you've never got to turn yourself. Everyone was crying around you to try and lend you the thing. Especially, this happened to me several times when I used to wear the Omnitrix to school. And I had to stop lending it to people because they would just never give it back. And then I got accused of being selfish, and then etc. It wasn't just me, but it happens to quite a lot of people. But yeah, then after that actually gets resolved, he has another thing. A friend of his from school, who he fancies, is having a party. And he has to actually, go ahead and... Sorry, I just came to a realization about something else in the film I didn't think of at the time. Yeah, sorry. Anyway, so yeah, he has to he has to go, just to give himself the courage to actually, talk to her, kiss her, etc. Which, yeah, it's interesting, because that again brings me back to another thing that I can actually relate to seeing, not necessarily being a part of, but seeing, is later on in life, my particular group of Spanish friends usually rely on me for social interaction, especially when it comes to the opposite gender. Because there was this group of girls one time that recognized me from the flight over to see them, well, my friends, not to see the girls, yeah. And so we had a conversation in English on a bus, and I was there translating to my friends who understand English perfectly, but were only talk to me and in Spanish. So it's like a bit of a barrier. It seems more pronounced in Spain, because I've had them tell me sometimes that talking to a girl and talking to a boy have different rules. I'm guessing what they're referring to really is like once you hit your teen years. Because when I was in primary school over here, that wasn't really a thing. To be honest, the boys and the girls mostly just ignored each other, except for fitting enough one of the other boys and me. And that was it. And sometimes we'd get some comments at us for hanging out with the girls. So yeah, if you're ever wondering why Raina and Julius being friends and not getting together is such an important lesson, that's part of it. There's several reasons why. Going actually back to when I was 5 and my best friend was female, and we would be hanging out, to people would think, oh, do you love her? You're going to marry her? Blah blah blah. Then that repeated itself when I was in secondary school with another female best friend. It's like, can't escape it. So yeah. I know, but that's part of it. It happens everywhere, but honestly, it seems to be that the culture of Spanish lads has not evolved in 40 years. Take that for what you will. What else? Oh, that's only like another one. Oh, I'm about 14 minutes in. I need to wrap this up. Yeah, so then there was Suso, who's working for his family, doesn't have as much. He's his dad got into accident and is in a coma, and one of the big reasons he wants to go and see the flowers to actually like have some hope and actually give that to his dad, which you're not really allowed to do. There was no one in the hospital room when they go and see him later, and you kind of like force it down his throat. It's like, okay, I see what you're trying to do here, but you would not be allowed to do that. Maybe in a town hospital. I'm not sure. I'm rushing over him because I realize how much of the time. But yeah, I guess Garriga kind of spoke to me the most out of the group, maybe in different ways. Also because he was a collector of football stickers, which my brother was also. But honestly, you change that for, like, you know, Pokemon cards, Gormiti, whatever it might have been over here, and the conversation sounds exactly the same. It's interesting because I feel it's a very nostalgic film for me in a lot of ways, but not because of the 80s. Obviously, I wasn't around back then. But it's not the time; it's the place. That's the thing, and it just so happens that I'm watching it in Galicia. So yeah. Anyways, we have the twins later. Yeah, so their names are Daniel and Alvaro, but Daniel goes by Martha. And I'll go over Alvaro first. Alvaro has had cancer for about a year, and he's been going back and forth into hospitals, and he just got out of hospital, so they also give him, like, you know, the curative flower later. And actually, one thing that he does is to cope with what's going on is he actually makes a lot of jokes about, you know, being dead or dying soon, or, you know, stuff like that, which actually impacts Martha quite a lot because he's afraid of losing him. He hasn't coped the same way. He's hearing that stuff all the time. So yeah, they have a big heart-to-heart. There's lots of emotional moments in this film that I'm glossing over. It's really funny and also really tragic at the same time. It walks a very thin line. I think it does it really well, because the funny scenes don't seem distracting from the emotional moments, or vice versa. And I think it actually, and sometimes the scenes are the same, you go from one point to another very quickly. Anyways, so yeah, Alvaro actually, well, there's a bunch of there's, like, the one that I mentioned before, the teens that were bullying Rodri. Yeah, there's like several of them actually. There's like a whole group, and who chase them on motorbikes and stuff, and they, like, throw their bikes in the river and things like that. Eventually, Alvaro, like, they challenges one of them to lead to a fight. Doesn't want to fight him because he's got cancer, but you know, he keeps on challenging him. Then, like, a back and forth. Turns out there's some backstory missing about the bully's family. You know, the typical not misunderstood bully, but using it as a coping mechanism or something like that. That wasn't quite fulfilled, but I'll get to that later. That same guy ends up being pummeled by Martha, again, Alvaro's twin. And Martha's actually, now I think about it, more interesting than I thought before. Simply because I just remembered something that was going on. That he talks about doing karate, and the friends, you know, they keep mocking him because he won't show them, because, you know, he's a brown belt seemingly, and they've never seen him do anything. I mean, there's a bit of a montage where he, like, shows them how to do a kick on a wall. That's it. Because his sensei has forbidden him to actually do any sort of public exhibitions of their art. That's his words. Translated, obviously, but, you know. And then, what was I going to say? Oh yeah. So then he says something later on, like halfway through the film, that if there's ever a time when he needs to show them, what actually happens. No, not what happened. Sorry. When he needs to show them, you know, his skills. If they're ever in danger, then they'll see. But now that I think about it, as I was talking about that party and stuff, I talked about the bullies and everything, and then Alvaro's challenge to the bully leader, whose name I don't actually know. Martha actually goes in and starts beating him up viciously, but it's your standard street fight. It's interesting, when push comes to shove, even though he's a brown belt, he didn't actually use karate at all. That's either because his instincts took over and he just saw red entirely, which is perfectly reasonable given what happened, or it's actually because he wasn't as skilled as he thought. And it's like, oh well, now's the moment, I'm gonna do fisticuffs. I don't know. It's either not imprinted on his brain entirely, or it's not. I mean, honestly, I'd have to ask some of my karateka friends, you know, like Caroline, for example, or I don't know, Adri, if he ever shows signs of life ever again. I'd have to ask. See what happens. See if any of them have ever been in a scuffle before, where they've had to resort to a public exhibition of their art. I don't know. So yeah, my parents were there at the time as well, and my mum, a couple of like a few minutes ago, before I started filming, she was asking me what it was like, what some of the like, you know, the scenes really meant, or something like but most of them, the stuff that she didn't get, because my parents both went in thinking that they weren't going to get most of it, apart from some of, like, you know, the lad dialogue, or, you know, just when they go particularly fast or something. They seem to really grasp it all. But there were just a couple of things that my mum asked me about, and it was just unresolved things. Like, why was Rodri being chased at the beginning of the film, for example? Was it, I mean, it seems to be he was being chased by the smart kids, which the smart kids don't tend to be the ones chasing the other kids. It tends to be the other way around, as a display of dominance. Who knows? Smart and dominant. What a combination that would be. But yeah, other than that, and a few other instances where I'm like, okay, well, they didn't really go over that. That's it. So I guess that's the one flaw of the film, is that there's some stuff that it kind of leaves too much to the imagination. I mean, obviously, it's like it takes place over the course of a couple of days, like 3 days, really. So you're not going to get every piece of information in there. Well, my lords and ladies, this is future Jacob. I forgot about the baby. Sorry, I'm inserting this into like the middle of the Walking Wednesday. I forgot that actually Suso actually comes across, that hears the cries of a baby from what seems to be a drug house of some description, heroin, I think. And the mother right next to him is dead, so Alvaro, who's checked her pulse, then just takes the baby, and actually they end up, that was their solution for why they went for getting a girl in the group in the end. But it also meant, by the way, my battery's going to run out soon, so if I cut out, that's why. But yeah, they pulled an Avatar The Last Airbender, actually. They called the baby Esperanza, which means hope. So they literally did the whole, oh yeah, we've got a different hope now or something from there. I don't think that was deliberate, but there you go. Great minds think alike, I guess. So well done, Alvaro, there. So that was an interesting diversion. They got to take care of a baby for a bit, and actually the baby was actually part of the reason in the party that Garriga confesses to his crush and gets to kiss her, so that then Suso can escape with the baby without the friend seeing them. That part, I think, was, you know, again, spectacular. I guess you've got to be forced into extreme situations to bridge that gender gap in 80s Spain. There you go. And I'm being called now, probably because I've been away for ages and I'm just walking back. So yeah, I'll leave it here. Back to the present, sort of past, I don't know, time travel in videos things. Oh, that's the time, that's memory spent, so I'm gonna have to try and upload this quickly later. But yeah, so that was the film. I really enjoyed it, and my one biggest question about it actually is something that I haven't mentioned before. I haven't said what the title of the film is. The title of the film is Live is Life, which is a reference to a song that Rodri listens to at the beginning on a cassette tape, kind of like Star-Lord, I guess. I don't know. Point is, yeah, it was just there before. Then like it comes back towards the very end. It's in the opening and end credit sequences. And to be honest, I'm not sure, because I have to listen to the song itself. Because there were some instances where like the music, particularly, there's this one punk song that my best friend Pika showed me as well, that that actually was all about a bunch of threats at the same time as the bullies were appearing. But I don't know, that was the thing too. So I'm not sure what symbolism it has. I think there's one line that's like, and we've all got the power. So maybe it's a power trip, considering that Rodri is desperate for some form of control over his life. That may be it. If you're wondering why I'm sloping down, it's because I'm on rocks now. There's too much moss on those ones to parkour with a phone, but I'll show you a bit later. So I don't know why it's just called that. There might have been a better title, or it might have been just the Life is Life was the inspiration. I guess I guess Stand By Me also is either inspired by the song or the song is inspired by it, the book. I'm not entirely sure which one. Probably the book came first. Usually that's how it goes. So yeah. I don't know. But yeah, great film otherwise. If you can find an English version out there, go for it. I glossed over a lot and it's very funny, as well as very emotional. Anyways, that's kind of it for right now, I guess. But also, I just need to say one more thing. It's that I was wrong. This is it came to my attention. Anyone who just wanted to know about my holiday, click off now, because this is going back into gacha stuff now. It came to my attention recently, by recently I mean last night, that what Monet was referring to when she said that the popular gachas nowadays tend to sync up the mouths later, was not really referring to the animated mouths that we do. It was referring to the fact that there's lip sync plastered over the top of them, which granted I already knew, but I've been against doing because it's very time consuming. It requires hiring more people usually to do, and for the most part, even though she says it looks more realistic, it can sometimes go into uncanny territory. It depends, really. I mean, English is one of those languages where lip movements is very specific, and in animation that's come across quite a lot. Although since gacha is based on anime, and Japan doesn't have that particular issue around lip flaps, they tend to have saved time on that quite a lot. So it just depends. Do you want the more English approach, or the more Western approach, I should say, sorry. Do you want the more Western approach or the more Japanese one? Depends. I guess I'd anything towards Japanese because I need to actually post things. That's the thing. Though who knows? Something I'm looking into, because apparently the search terms she uses to search up the popular gacha videos nowadays for at least mini movies, you know, buried amongst all the memes, just gacha original series or gacha club original series. Not gacha club mini movie or anything. Which means I've got to change my tags again. Oh, to have a series that goes on for 3 years and try to still keep it relevant. And somewhat succeed. I insist the Mutant Girl has been growing year after year. But yeah, I do wonder, because I've been thinking about other new ideas for gacha, stuff I can do on the More Gacha from Jacob channel, gacha review, and I need to find ways to do these videos more quickly, especially because I'm on holiday now and I can't really edit for too long. But, so I do wonder, because like with Alpha Witch Academy, I focus on the visuals so much, and it's a story that I can't really cut corners around, at least not as many. So I'm not really sure, but then again, everyone who's watched that is really invested in the story. So it goes back to what I say always. If you can choose, if you have quality or story, if you can have them both, great. If you only have one, always choose story first. Because that's what we remember. The Mutant Girl had terrible visuals, and by all means should have died in 2019. But even despite the fraction of popularity that it still gets hundreds of views, and honestly, since 2020, always has. It's something that people keep on finding, keep on coming back to. So, you know what? Yeah, I gotta keep providing it. But again, it's because of the story. I mean, I could have leaned on the fact that I was doing voice acting pretty much before anyone else was, or the fact that I was combining it with the gacha animation to begin with, and thinking that I was innovating visually at the time, until I later on tried to find more efficient ways. But actually, having looked into doing the stuff with animated mouths, it either looks out of place or looks exactly the same. And when you get down to it, whether editing it or in gacha itself, as I've discovered, it doesn't actually save you time. So to anyone who I said that before, as we're looking into that for animated mouths, I'm sorry, I have unintentionally misled you. Please resume what you were doing before and go back to what you always knew. Unless you're on mobile, in which case, do whatever the heck you want. I'm not sure what's better for you guys. Not a clue. Anyways, we're here in the rocks right now. I am going to continue to head back, and we'll see you soon. Thanks for watching this successfully long video. Watch that movie and make your gachas. That's what I'll say. So please leave a like or dislike, because your opinion matters, and subscribe if you've done so already. And on that note, until next time, farewell.